Welcome. So we are super excited to be here and doing this. I have never officially filmed a podcast. I mean, we've done a few of them with my business partner and I. I know you've been interviewed for one.
Such a version.
Yeah. So, but there was this thing, and it's funny. I just have to share the story because we met over this networking event that was being hosted by a 25-year-old. And we were both like on either sides of the room.
Opposite, yeah.
And you were introducing yourself and talking about beauty and aesthetics. And I was like looking and I was like, oh, she looks about my age. And then I talked about fitness and nutrition and you were like, we need to chat. And from there, I was like, I need to know her. Like,
yeah,
I was just like everything in my business. I was like, I need somebody that's really good with aesthetics and everything. And so that's kind of how it came.
Mm-hmm.
And
even when the party was over, I was like, I need to talk to you because of just like energy.
Yeah.
Like everyone talks around the table and I'm like, oh, I need to, like, who's this person? Like, what's happening with that person? So you're kind of like gauging it and analyzing who's who. And then I don't know why, I was just so drawn to you. So when we ended up talking, I was so excited. I'm like, all right. But then this whole podcast thing was like, so new to me. I'm like, oh, but I'm in. Like,
I know. We've known each other for like a month, right?
Yeah. That's it.
But it was one of those things that it totally kicked it off and it was just like meant to be. And I made the joke at the event that said, the Jenna was her name. And she was saying like, it was so great. She's like, all of like the people that know my mom are here and everything like that. And I made the joke and I said, well, yeah, that's because you advertised it on Facebook. You finally got to the right crowd. And it's so funny because as we get started, so if you ask about the names, so we kind of went back and forth and, I'm just going to say right now. So you're going to learn as you start to listen to our podcasts, it's geared towards moms. It's geared towards moms over 40. It's geared towards working moms over 40. But if you've got little ones in the car and listening or whatever, I'm going to tell you, put your headphones in because there's some F-bombs that I know that are going to come.
Oh, yeah.
We both had to talk about it and be like, are you
okay with this? We're okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, but I mean, obviously the name, seriously, WTF, what the 40? I mean, the first thing we said when we started asking about a podcast and I looked at her and I said, so what are you thinking? Like, what do you think about a podcast? And my whole thing was like, well, half the time when people ask me stuff or they ask questions about fitness or wellness or whatever, I'm like, what the fuck? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And you said,
yeah, totally. What did I say?
You said, get the fuck out of here. And so that was kind of like that. We
so
immediately
true.
were like, we need WTF in this somewhere. So it's got to be there.
I mean, I think it summarizes life.
Yeah.
I love WTF because you could say it like, what the fuck? That happened to you?
Yeah.
Or what the fuck?
Exactly.
Anyway, but yeah, so I
we're
love
changing it to what
Seriously,
the 40.
WTF, what the 40? Because then when you hit 40, you're like, what the F just happened? Like, what happened to my thighs? Where did this come from? Why are my tits down to my knees? Like, I don't understand. What is happening with everything?
Or in my case, you're in the doctor's office going, I've been eating everything right. I've been doing everything right. And I totally don't understand, like, what's wrong with me? Like, do the blood work. Something has to be wrong with me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So before we dive into all the good stuff, because don't worry, we're going to have it all as we launch this first season of our podcast. We wanted to kind of came up with, and yes, we have notes here. Don't think that we can pull this all off the top of our head. But I think you probably need to know who we are and like why we're doing this and kind of what gives us any kind of authority to talk about, wellness and everything that happens to women over 40. So let's get into this. So Nar, explain a little bit about who you are, how you got started and,
Well, people know me as Nurse Nar. And, it's crazy because sometimes when you say your business name, no one really knows the business name, but they just like associate a face to the name. So I'm Nurse Nar with Bay & Bow Aesthetics out in Torrance, California. And the way I actually started off as an ER nurse. And I loved it so, so much. But then there was something about aesthetics that I liked. And let me tell you, when I was in nursing school and, when you said, if you even heard anyone say, I want to be an aesthetics nurse, everyone is kind of like frowned upon. Like, why on earth would you want to be a nurse and then get into aesthetics? It was like, oh, no, no, no. And then here I am years later. I'm an aesthetics nurse. I'm very proud to be one. It's so much more than the wrinkle treatments and the microneedling that you do. I think it has a lot to do psychologically with women and the changes that we go through with whether it's our face, Zoom calls when we look at ourselves, or the bodies, the reflection that we see when we look at ourselves in the mirror. So much has changed throughout the industry. And so I started off in the ER and then I slowly transitioned to aesthetics. And the reason was because, the ER is not meant for everyone, or bedside nursing is just not meant for everyone. And by all means, it was meant for me. I loved it. But I got, married, children, and I just didn't want to live that life of an ER nurse. So slowly and surely, I got into aesthetics, and I loved it because I felt like people were, and I think I had talked to you about this too, that people are actually seen when they walk into the office versus in the emergency room, you're in and you're out. You're basically trying to stabilize, and you move them on to ICU, PCU, wherever, to a different hospital. So when people walk into the office, I just feel like we talk, we have friendly banter, we talk about life in general and how you're looking, how you've aged, how it's just not the same anymore. So I absolutely love it. So that's just kind of like the sum of what's happening. And I know there's a lot of nurses out there that do aesthetics. It's like having honestly, like a nail salon you see one in every corner. And it's becoming more and more popular. And people think it's actually really easy, but it's not. You have to know so much anatomy, right? And it's not just injecting someone's face. It's all about, let me get to know you. Let me see why you want to do the things that you even want to do. And you could totally relate to this.
Yeah.
How did you start?
So I kind of knew that I wanted to be a part of everything to do with the body when I was in high school. I was fascinated by the body. I was fascinated by how it worked. I remember when I went to college and I showed up and I was a biology major. And I was like, where's the anatomy? Where's the physiology? They're like, you're in the wrong major. And so I was like, well, whatever that major is that has anatomy class, like that's where I want to be. And so just from that point on, I was a dancer in high school and everything. And so it clicked with starting to learn about fitness and how you could transform the body and different things with it. And then from there, it was kind of like I'd met my husband and I was thinking about, what do I want to do? How do I combine everything that I'm with the dance and then with the nutrition and the fitness. And so, yeah, I have all the degrees and, bachelor's in exercise phys and master's in sports medicine, but I then kind of fell in love with the world of bodybuilding. And I started as a fitness competitor where it was basically you were dancing, but putting in fitness moves. So one arm push-ups and splits and high kicks and all this kind of stuff. So I fell in love with it. And I remember the very
You got to
first...
do this one day because I need to see this. It's muscle memory. You probably know how to do it.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it with the younger girls. Oh my gosh. But I just loved everything about getting to know about it and what happened with it and just the whole world of bodybuilding and getting in it and being involved in it. And, my very first bodybuilding show, I remember I was eating like frozen lean cuisines and the show was like, I placed horrible and I was like, I don't understand. And so I wanted to do all the science to figure out how do you get like super lean? And so I hired a coach and got somebody to help me with it. And it was just understanding like the biochemistry of nutrition and how it works. And it was really interesting because my coach at the time, Mike Davies, who's really well known in the bodybuilding industry, I remember asking him, like, well, you're not a registered dietitian, or you don't have these backgrounds. And he said, I want to focus on the science and the nutrition and the aspects of it. He's like, so many times like registered dietitians or even doctors sometimes get so into that this is how they have to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't do things differently based on how things are. And so from there, it just kept going and going. And, I joke now that the bodybuilding industry, like the way you eat for bodybuilding is just horribly unhealthy. So when I have clients come to me and say, I want to look like I compete, but I don't want to compete. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's way too hard to do that. But so from there, it just kept going. And
it has to be attainable. It's like we live life, right? You go to Temecula and have wine.
Well, that's why you have pictures of that, is so that, you can actually say, one day I looked like this. I'm not ever going to look like that. But, I own nutrition stores and I worked for a gym a long time. But now what I focus on is really helping women over 40. And it's because I had that WTF moment when I hit 40 and I was like, why is everything different? Like, I know how to do fitness and nutrition and I haven't changed anything. And I went to the doctor's office. I'm like, but something's wrong. And that's when they were like, well, no, your hormones are fine. You're fine. And I was like, but something's wrong. And then my friends, because it's one of those, I'm sure you have the same thing where I become really good friends with like my clients. Like you get to know people and they share so much of their life with you. Yeah. But so people that I knew in my 20s and 30s when I was in, competing as a professional athlete were reaching out and saying, hey, by the way, are you still doing fitness and nutrition? And are you helping women over 40?
Yeah.
And so that just became my lifelong passion in that there's so much you can do. I've seen firsthand how you can heal the body and you can prevent stuff. And so it's just become such a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Sometimes my mom asks me, she's, you know, because she collects jewelry and she collects, she's like, what is it that you do? And I'm like, I guess it would be like my body and my working out or something.
Yeah.
Not like from a vanity standpoint, but my gosh, if I'm going to live to be 90, I want to be able to still walk.
Yeah.
So.
You know, it's crazy that we're actually talking about this because I feel like whether it's social media or whatever platform that you're using, or even this, let's just say, if they can like the other day I posted something on Instagram and then I said how I lost 35 pounds and doing the GLP-1s, right? And then we can dive into that later. But when I posted that, I had so many people reach out to me, the ones that are like, oh my God, no, let's not say anything. Or like, let's just keep it on the DL because we don't want, I don't know what shame is associated with that. But when they saw me, people who I've gone to high school with, right? Like, I'm not trying to age myself, but 20 some years ago, they're like, holy crap, NAR's doing it. So I can talk about it now. So it's the same thing with you. So like if people are reaching out to you and saying, hey, now I know Corry's doing this type of thing and nutrition and fitness or has done that, they feel comfortable asking you. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's good. I'm really happy. I mean, I hate social media, but then I love it at the same time because then, you know, by the way, I have to tell you this. So the other day, not to jump off, but I heard that your research, quote unquote research, is not Instagram. That's not research, right? So I was like, Corry would totally love this because it's not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people jump on the, you know, wagon and they're like, oh, well, I heard this, but well, who's posting it anyway? What research, like, what credentials do they have? What is it called? Scientific based practice, or are they basing this off of? Anyway, I'm just rambling on here, but you see what I'm saying?
No, I get it because I saw a post the other day that had something about getting your fitness and nutrition advice and that everybody can look fabulous in their 20s and talk about, you know, what they're doing, but come back at me when you're 40 and you had kids that have kept you up all night long, or you have a business that you have to worry about, or you have a husband that you have to worry about, or any of that kind of stuff, you know, it's really different. And so things are different. And when people are looking on Instagram and coming to me and saying, yeah, I want to try this diet or I want to try this. And I'm like, well, where'd you hear that? Mm-hmm. And then I look back at their basis. I'm like, great, you're perimenopausal and you're looking at the advice from some really famous 25-year-old TikToker. Like,
yeah,
she can come back when she's in her 40s and tell me.
And then talk to me about it later. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's go into, of course, like we said, we wrote down some stuff and I want to hear your comment because you had said that you were telling people about this podcast and you had talked to people this weekend. And so what did you hear?
So it was so listen, my girlfriends and I love them to death, but we shoot the shit a lot and we're very bluntly honest with one another. So I was at a lovely baby shower. And I don't know why I always confuse those two. I was at a baby shower this weekend and it was so nice. So here we are at a buffet and I had said something sarcastic to one of my girlfriends. So come back. We're at the buffet line and you know how I just shared that I've lost a bunch of weight or whatever. So she's like, oh, you're at the buffet line. You eat? I was like, oh, Lord, help me, Jesus. I'm like, yes, I eat. And I found that. And so maybe someone would have been very offended by that. I was dying internally. I was laughing so hard. I was like, how, you bitch, I swear I love you right now. I'm like, but yeah, you do eat. You're still eating when you're on your GLP-1s or your weight loss journey. And it's like being on any type of weight loss regimen that you're on. Yeah, you're still eating. So that was probably one of the craziest things because it's not a starvation diet.
Right.
So it was the craziest thing I've heard.
That's what people need to know.
I was like, what?
Yeah, we're going to get into the science of it, you know. So I don't do anything with my clients with GLP-1s, but I know you do. And so I think the initial reason why I wanted to reach out to you is because of the GLP-1s, because people ask me all the time about it. Like, can you do it? Is it okay? Like, what are your thoughts on it? And so for me, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm not a huge, like, don't do it. But I'm also at the same time from the factor of most of my clients, you know, we do a lot of stuff really, really naturally. But I also know that sometimes we need some other things. Like people used to always ask me, you know, oh, well, you're so against. I think my biggest thing was about Corry. Somebody was saying like my WTF moment when somebody said this was like, oh, you're so against plastic surgery. I'm like, whoever said that? Who said I was against plastic surgery?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, you told somebody they couldn't do plastic surgery until I said, no, let me rephrase that. What I said is if you're going to do plastic surgery, like please do all the right things first.
Oh, yeah.
Do the right nutrition, do the fitness stuff, get yourself to that right spot, and then do the plastic surgery. Because if you don't, and you do the plastic surgery and you continue to eat like crap the entire time, it's all going to come right back on.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my biggest thing, you know, as we dive into, and don't worry, we'll spend an entire episode going into GLP-1s, but we're going to spend a lot of time talking about everything. And I think the number one thing we probably have is weight loss. And then I don't want my face to look like I'm 40, right? Like I want to look like I'm 20 when I'm my 40. So we're going to spend all this time talking about all these things because that's what we do every day. Like we couldn't not do it. But, you know, there's some other things that we're going to focus on too in just real life in terms of how things go. So kind of some of the questions here, I would just say, when you look at it, so like right now, what do you see is like the biggest gap in women's wellness? Like the stigma, the confusion, like when you thought of this podcast and you were like, oh my gosh, this is what we need to talk about.
I think, well, I'll tell you one thing. So a lot of the women that I see, it's actually the opposite of what you said. So I have to disagree with you in that sense. So a lot of the people that come in that are 40 plus always say to me, I'm not trying to look like I'm 20. And they don't.
That's awesome.
You know, they say, I just want to look a little refreshed, rejuvenated, like I got a ton of sleep. So I think the disconnect is you either don't get work done or you get all the work done. And that's not necessarily true. I get work done. I look fine. Sorry, but I do. Like I still look very natural. And that is a possibility because a lot of the things going back to social media is what we see on social media is people looking overly done, pillow face, too skinny, ribs sticking out, collarbone sticking out. Their spine shows on the red carpet when they're wearing a backless dress. It's all of that. So then they get scared and freaked out and say, you know what? I'm not doing any of it. But that's not that's the gap I'm trying to fill. Like you could still get work done and look amazing without looking like, holy shit, what did you just do to your face? Like, oh my God, you just dropped 60 pounds in 1 month, which is unheard of, right? So it's like, come on, guys, let's keep it chill, neutral, natural. Let's just live our lives. But also at the same time, what's the word I'm looking for? When you love your aging process, help me out here. What's that word I'm looking for?
Aging gracefully.
There you go. You're aging gracefully, but you're just getting a little bit of help, right? So if you're losing weight, lose weight gracefully. You don't have to drop it and do it the right way.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing that I find a lot of times when I'm talking to women with hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
And people are usually either for it or against it. And they're, you know, have very, very set guidelines and rules, like you absolutely don't want to do it or they do want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, some of the great things about that is I tell women, you can try it. Like you can try some of this stuff. And if it works for you, it works for you. It's not like, I would think like with Botox, it's not like you get Botox once and then like you're ruined for the rest of your life. Like they could try it out and decide maybe it's not right for them, right? It doesn't have to be something.
I don't know, something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the same thing, you know, I find with a lot of women when I talk to about different things, if they feel like it's cheating if they do hormone replacement therapy, or if they, you know, of course, a lot of them say, if I do any kind of weight loss drugs, it's cheating because
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it when I hear that.
Yep. And I hear it a lot of times that people say it and, you know, and people will ask me about it. I'm like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cheating, but on my aspect of it, because my whole background is in fitness and nutrition, I'm like, I want you to use it for the healthy reasons, you know, to get healthier. Because, you know, when I see a lot of people and I talk to them, if you're overweight, there's probably a reason why. You didn't just wake up one day and be like, okay, now I'm 50 pounds overweight. Something happened. Yeah. Whether it's trauma in your life or, you know, sugar was a fix or anything like that. So I want people to really focus on what are the things that they need to do to make those changes to become healthier with different stuff.
Absolutely.
So it makes a big difference in that. And I think, you know, for me, when I talk about women's wellness and kind of the stuff around it, is I see so many women that I talk to on a regular basis, you know, maybe they're not doing weight loss drugs or they're just looking for getting healthier and they come to me, and because of social media or because of the things that they eat, 99% of the women that I work with, the first thing I have to do is I'm like, you have to eat a little bit more because they're starving themselves.
Yeah.
And so I want women to feel that this doesn't have to be this completely all or nothing thing. women think that, you know, if I go the route of kale and grilled chicken and steamed fish, like that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way around it. Like once you go that way, you never get to go back to anything else. And so these women are thinking, I can never have alcohol. I can never have sugar. I can never have any of these other things. And I think that's where it's kind of been brainwashed so much. So I like to talk to women and say, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to count every single macro and every single calorie that goes into your body.
But who drilled that into our minds anyway? Who said that that's the way to do it? Unless you're in competition, I understand that.
Right.
But in day-to-day, everyday life, you're just your average girl trying to make, you know, life happen. Kids, husband, drinks with your friends, going out to Temecula, wherever you're going. I don't care. But like, right? I mean, who said you need to eat that type of like, and you have to calculate your macros. Who the f cares about the macros? Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't care, but maybe you'll tell me otherwise. I don't know. I just love eating but I want to eat in a healthy way. And if I'm doing the GLP-1s to lose the weight, obviously I have a goal in mind. So you can't just be wishy-washing this Mickey Mouse the job, right? You have to do it the right way if you really want to.
Yeah. Well,
see the results. Yeah.
I will tell people when you're looking at, you know, because you brought up macros and like carbs and proteins and fats and all that kind of stuff, there gets to be a certain point where I tell people, these are the tweaks that we need to make if you want to get to that next step. So for example, if people are like, I want to look like a bodybuilder, I'm like, okay, great. So this nutrition that you're following right now, this is what we've got to do to get there. And then it looks at, okay, now we got to focus on 120 grams of protein and we've got to only have 30 grams of carbs and you can't go out and eat and you can't have your alcohol and no, you cannot have those brownies. And so then I tell people, is it worth it? Is that next step worth it in terms of where you want to go? And if it's not, then I tell people, then we got to be happy with where we're at. And sometimes I think that's really the hard part is, you know, and I know that's something that we've said we were going to talk about is these whole notions around food and around, you know, oh my gosh, I ate too much of the cookie or the dessert or whatever, and now I got to punish myself with exercise or different stuff in terms of how people feel.
I can't tell you how many women are on the GLP-1 and they'll come and tell me, Nar, I had wine or I had a piece of cake. I said, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Who cares if you had a piece of cake? Like then for breakfast, have like, you know, something else to compensate. So you're not going to have a piece of cake or Nutella every day, right?
Right.
Try not to, because it's just empty calories. That's what it is. Or like, don't chug 5 bottles of beer. That's just empty calories. So I think finding Jen's going to hate me for saying this, finding the balance. Just gonna hate it.
We love you, Jen.
But yeah, you got to find some sort of balance though. Really, you really do.
And, you know, sometimes I'll tell, which is interesting that you say that about balance is because sometimes I will say things about balance and I'll say, you know, you've got to kind of choose which one you want to focus on when it comes to some sort of those balances, you know, because sometimes in your life where you're at or what moment you are in your life, you have to focus on one thing or the other. So maybe there's a time where you have to focus on your health, or maybe there's a time you have to focus on your kids.
Well, that's a good point.
You know, so it just depends. I mean, yes, there can be some balance, but I feel like sometimes women are like, they have to balance everything out. Like for just example,
like Supermom.
I was talking to a woman the other day and we were talking about her nutrition and where she wants to go with it. And she was saying, oh, well, maybe I just shouldn't try to make these meals all together I was talking about how, you know, she's working with me and we're working on her nutrition and she's, you know, the typical perimenopausal woman. She wants to lose the weight and talking about, you know, the detox that I put women through to remove, you know, basically the crap that's in their diet. And she was talking about after all of it, and I was talking about how she can implement it with her family and all this other stuff, yada, yada, as it goes down. And she's like, well, maybe I should just make my own meals and then make for my family. I'm like, no, that defeats the whole entire purpose. Like if you can't, especially working moms, I'm like, if you can't eat with your family, then what's the point? I said, at some point you're going to basically, what's that word? I was telling her, like, you're going to hate me for this. You're going to resent me because of the fact that, like, you're having to do something different. And so I think there is a lot to be said with balance, but sometimes women are like, it has to be balanced. Like, life has to be balanced.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Literally, I was just talking to my husband about this and I said, here I am, new mom, right? I have a 2-year-old. So I'm prepping lunch for her. Like, the broccoli, the carrots, I'm like, why don't I do this for myself? I'm like, literally, I don't do this for myself, but I'll do it for someone else. Like we give and give and give, but then it's so hard to do it for us. And then because if we do it for us and we're thinking, I'm going to have to do it all, like monstrous, right? So, I mean, that's a good start. might as well just put an extra chicken in there for me.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and your text the other day. So I probably shouldn't be having a grilled cheese, right?
I mean, it looked so good though. Let me tell you, it was like grilled to perfection and the cheese was like oozing out. And I was like, shit, should I have this with my coffee, which is fantastic? And then I thought about the grease and then the cellulite. And I'm like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have this. So what did I have? I think I ended up having like a spinach and egg white wrap with feta cheese. I mean, it was still bomb.
Yeah.
That's still good.
Well, and see, this is one thing that I always share with my clients is there's your always, never, and sometimes foods. And we'll get into all of this as we keep going and talk about nutrition. But I think this is a really good way for women to look at this. Your always foods are, and you all know it, it's the foods that you make you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Like when you eat them, you've got energy, you sleep better, you just feel good. So those are your always foods. Your never foods I help my clients find are the foods that when you eat them, you're like, ugh, oh, my stomach feels so bad. Or, oh gosh, my head is killing me. Or I woke up 5 times last night because, I had that too late before I went to bed. So those are your never foods. It's not carbs. It's not sugar. It's what are those specific few foods that are never, because if you do them, for example, when I was perimenopausal, if I had sugar, I wouldn't sleep. Like that was just it. I'd be up at 3 o'clock in the morning looking at the stars going, oh my gosh, I really wish I could sleep. I shouldn't have had that sugar. So that was just something I learned that sugar just didn't agree with me.
Yeah.
Now that I'm fully menopausal, like it's amazing because the sugar's back.
Okay.
But then there's the sometimes food. And that, like your grilled cheese would be your sometimes food, where if you are routinely eating those always foods that you love, but sometimes you're like, I want to enjoy the wine tonight with my...
sometimes. When is it once a week? Is it 3 times a week? Like, because there's people that don't know the limitation of that, right? Like, how do you know? Okay, so let's say if I had my grilled cheese, my sometime food today, and then I'm going to have a glass of wine with my girls tomorrow. And then I'm having a cookout and eating a burger the following. So then you become 50 pounds heavier by the end of the month.
Yeah. But it could be, I look at it when I talk to women is how are you doing? So I'm a proponent of having women step on the scale, not for the fact that I want you to know what your scale weight is, but if you step on the scale one day, and let's say I'm just coming up with numbers, let's say it says 120, and you step on the scale the next day and it says 126, you didn't gain 6 pounds of weight overnight.
Yeah.
But what you ate that day was something that was super inflammatory. And so your body said, I do not like that. I do not like what you had. So when women are just maintaining and they want to have more, like you just said, they want to have their burger or they want to have their grilled cheese or anything like that, like step on the scale. If your weight is maintaining and you feel great, that's fine. If things are changing, then we kind of need to look at stuff. So it was example, if I look at it this way, one of my clients is on GLP-1s and she was so frustrated because she's been stuck at the same weight, stuck at the same weight, stuck at the same weight. I said, well, have you done your body composition? And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, have you looked at the difference between your muscle and your fat? I said, since you've been doing the GLP-1s, you've been going to the gym, you've been listening to everything I'm saying, right? So it turns out, she had put on some muscle and she had lost some weight, but the damn scale said the same thing, right? But then I said, send me what you're eating and everything. So she sent it to me and I was like, let's tweak a couple little things. I think, you've gotten too far in the don't eat anything or don't give yourself enough stuff. And so then I get the text message, oh my God, Corry, the scale is down 1.5 pounds. It's moving the needle again. So it's just, I think there's so many things that people just don't understand about stuff. So I think, that was what I loved about kind of like our two backgrounds. It's 2 different things. And I think we're going to agree and disagree about everything about these things to give people really good stories. Yeah. And hopefully a little bit of fun and, that they want to listen to when they're walking their dog or
100%
in the car with their kids.
But I don't know, maybe this will be a different episode but you made a really good point about hey, I'm stuck on this weight and I've been on GLP-1s and you tweak their diet or you just say, okay, let's measure get your measurements, body mass and all that jazz. But let me tell you, it's a thing to get the GLP-1s online from some unknown website, some sort of BS proprietary blend that they're selling you. And then you're like, oh my God, I can get this for $100. Let me tell you, honey, getting Chanel, you pay for Chanel. You pay $3 to $5 grand for a bag of Chanel minimum. You're buying, and you walk out with a Chanel. You're not walking out with Channel, right? It's like Chanel bag. So when you go and purchase these medications, please be careful how you're buying it, from whom you're buying it from. What is it made of? That's why a lot of it's a whole different thing out there, especially in the state of California with the compounding pharmacies. What are they substituting it with? Is it research based only, not for human consumption?
Yep.
So when if you have been stuck on GLP-1, question where you're getting it from and how much you've paid for it. And I'm not saying that people need to price gouge you or whatever, but at least understand and have real faith and trust in your provider, because that's some BS to get it from. My friend was a bodybuilder and they used this laboratory and I'm going to get it from that person. What the hell are you doing? That's a no-no. I know some people are in desperation to lose the weight and they just think, hey, I'm going to get back on this GLP thing, but understand where you're getting it from and what's in it.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Well, and I see it's the same thing that I see with the fitness and nutrition industry. When we came out of COVID, COVID did such a disservice for individuals like me because everything went online and everything went online for free. And so people are just getting this advice. And so people are always asking me, well, when you work with women, is it intermittent fasting or is it keto or is it, I'm like, it isn't any of those. It might be all of those together. But what I'm doing is looking at each individual. So, it's the same thing when I'll tell them, this is what a 3-month program costs to work with me. And they're like, yeah, that's more expensive than I wanted to spend. And I was like, that's okay. You can go try the other things. But if you want somebody to actually physically tell you, okay, I think this is what you're doing and this is wrong. It's why also, when people ask me about GLP-1s, I don't refer them to some clinic online. I'm like, I need you to go talk to a person. I need somebody to educate you on this because it's a big deal. And if you do this wrong, bless you.
Thank you.
If you do this wrong, you can screw up a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah. And obviously they need the help or else they wouldn't be here to begin with.
Right.
So if you're going to do it on your own, by all means do it. But if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. Yeah. And it's okay to pay for it because it's temporary in a sense. You're investing in yourself. It's temporary, whether it's the nutrition part of it, the medication part of it, even aesthetics. Jesus Christ, it's all temporary. You know what I mean? So that you can learn those good habits. Like GLP-1, like we were talking about, it's a tool. You're using that to reevaluate your relationship with food, lifestyle, working out, all finding the balance again. You know what I mean?
Yep. So obviously, as you can tell, we're going to have lots of good stuff on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And we promise on the next ones, as we go and you dive into the next episodes, we do have specific episodes that are going to focus on very specific topics. But one of the things that we want to end every episode with is kind of rapid fire. So these guys get to know us a little bit more.
Lord, help me.
So we won't lie. We'll use some AI to come up with some of the best little questions that we could come up with. So I just kind of put some together and because it was funny because as Nara and I were texting this morning about kicking everything off and we were talking about morning person, night person, whatever, this kind of came up and I was like, oh, okay. So let's start with that one. Morning person or night owl?
I'm a night owl.
See, and I'm definitely a morning person.
I love it.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%.
Yeah, me too. Coffee, 100%. We're going to be looking for coffee sponsors. I know it. We just need it. Okay, next one. On a day-to-day basis, if you could, which one do you choose, heels or sneakers?
Day-to-day, I'll go with sneakers.
Okay, I'm a sneakers girl too.
Yeah. But I love a good glam session. I'm such a girly when it comes to that. Okay.
And that's why I need you because literally, seriously, that's why I am in my leggings and my sneakers because if I could, I would wear this all the time. And my husband's like, we're going somewhere else. You've got to dress up.
But let me tell you, when you wear your heels, it just changes your posture. It changes the way you walk. It chest up, tits out.
Yep, exactly.
And you're just walking. I mean, it's great.
Yep.
I love heels.
Okay. That's it for this one.